There's a lot of dishonest reporting online when it comes to Lyon, in our humble opinion. A lot of French cities online, if you type them into YouTube, you'll find, oh wow, this place has amazing food, or it's an underrated city, and they'll highlight the historic core and the center of the city, but very rarely will you get to see the other side, the actual reality of a lot of these French cities. So today we want to show you the other side of Lyon, the side that very rarely gets reported on. This is yet another European city that is being crushed under the foot of failed EU policies, and today we want to show you that very reality. So come with us as we explore Lyon, the third largest city in France. Right here in this very spot is where 23-year-old Quentin Delantar lost his life to far left extremists. And the reason for it, he was chased down and brutally beaten for standing and protecting a women's march for safety, to protect women's safety in France. There was a group of people, particularly women, who came out to protest about how unsafe France has become in recent years due to mass migration and the failed policies of the EU. Quentin showed up to help these women to get their voices across and to make them feel a little bit safer, because they knew, and he knew, that they would be a direct target by the far left extremist groups such as Antifa. And that resulted in him quite literally being chased up the road and having his life end right there on the side of the street. This is the reality of France. It breaks my heart. It's absolutely disgusting, and it's a shame that people won't talk about it more. Look at the frickin' state of this. By the way, these are bins where people can donate clothes, and what happens here all over France and all over Europe actually at the moment, if you're not aware, is these public bins where they receive clothing donations, they get attacked, and literally all of the stuff gets taken out and looted by Romas and by gypsies and by homeless migrants. So they actually go to these bins, they take everything out. All these clothes are supposed to be donated to charity foundations. They're taken out and used for communities that they were never intended to be put there for. So if you are someone that leaves clothes in these types of places, don't bother. Bring them physically into an actual charity organization, and you'll know that your clothes are actually going to the right place. Just down here on the embankment of the River Rhine here in Lyon, you have someone living. They actually have their laundry. They have man-made an actual shack here that's made out of wooden pallets and random things that have been left behind. But this is their home right here on the River Rhine of Lyon. This is the sad reality for quite a lot of people in this city here in 2026.
This is a very good visual for what Europe is like in 2026. Now we are directly at the River Rhine, which in order to come here has already gone through the countries of Netherlands and also Germany. And now I've never seen anything like it in Europe. There's a swan who literally made an entire nest out of garbage, frying pans, beer cans and so on, and she's just sitting on her eggs in the middle of all of that garbage. Now with all of these homeless encampments, of course there comes a lot of human garbage.
Absolutely disgusting. The entire way along this street here is quite literally just an open landfill, and if you look across the road, there's a whole park that is just tents in the public park across the road of the actual highway here in Lyon. So this is it, guys. Welcome to another French city, the beautiful Lyon. It's horrific. Quite literally hell on earth, no?
So scary.
This is disgusting. Oh my god. Absolutely stinks to high heavens. I'm just letting the camera roll because I want you guys to understand that you're being lied to. The image of Europe is being portrayed as this big, beautiful, grand continent. And there's lots of areas that are beautiful, but it's very different in 2026.
Then you come out on this side and you have all of these really nice historical buildings.
Yeah, so you come out on the other side and you can get to see a little bit of the niceness of Lyon. Look at these buildings. Grand, historic, beautiful heritage buildings here.
And then also Black Trans Lives Matter. I don't know how much more niche you can get.
How much more niche can you get? So here it has Black Trans Lives Matter. People have tried to scrape it off, but yeah, the virus of the minds of the people here in terms of the leftism, quite extreme here in Lyon.
I agree. I also have PTSD after visiting France.
All of the train stations in Europe as well, by the way, guys, are starting to look very similar. Dingy, dirty, dangerous. Triple D right there. The triple D of the European Union. Migrant encampment here on the side of the road. We've got tents again. A whole setup with couches and everything else that's been stolen from a lot of those bins.
Now, if you are claiming to be part of one of those movements that is so-called feminist or standing up for women's rights, you ought to support people like Collectif Nemesis. Now, Collectif Nemesis was the group of women that was actually standing up for women's safety and who Quentin was actually trying to defend. And of course, Antifa and other radical leftist groups were attacking these people. And unfortunately, it took the turn that it took.
The statue of Saint Louis XIV. And here, on this very statue of this Roman Catholic Christian king who had ruled for over 70 years, we have sprayed "Fuck your mother" and Antifa. An absolute disgrace, a defacement of an incredible ruler, like I said, for such a long time here. An incredible amount of history has gone into Lyon, an incredible amount of history in France, thousands of years of Christian history here. And this is how these low IQ animals behave and treat the statues nowadays. It's very disheartening, the fact that the officials here and the people that actually run the city, they haven't even really made an attempt at scrubbing it off. This would have happened just a few days ago on Labor Day, which is one of the biggest demonstrations. Now that actually got really violent, and tear gas had to be used to disperse the May Day crowds here in Lyon, as I think about 20 plus thousand people actually turned up and got very violent with the police, which, you know, it's a perfect use of police resources here in Europe in 2026, when people are literally being stabbed and murdered and raped on a daily basis here. But the police are having to go out and try and defend their very own cities from being vandalized by quite literal childish buffoons who think that they're being activists, when in reality they're upper middle class rich kids who have parents so they don't have to work.
Who of you had femicide on the 2026 bingo card for Europe? I certainly didn't, yet here we are. I googled recent crime cases in and around Lyon, and I came across one very, very gruesome crime case where a man with the name of Murat Boujenane killed his ex, Nathalie Ducrot, 33 years old, mother of 4, by stabbing her 54 times in front of her 4 children. Now, think about that. That is Europe. We basically had femicide entirely eradicated. Very, very rarely would you hear about these types of things happening. And yet, again, we are importing people from cultures where femicide is just about an average weekly occurrence. Now that man, Murat, he only got 25 years in prison. He didn't even get a lifelong sentence. He took a life of his ex. He ruined her family member's life, and he traumatized all 4 of her kids to the absolute maximum. 25 years, chance of parole, not even life in prison. Welcome to Europe in 2026. Lyon still has a very, very nice historical core and a very good reputation because of their cuisine, but year over year it is getting worse and it's getting unsafer in the city of Lyon. I'm going to read to you the crime statistics and the development from 2024 to 2025. Homicides are up 42%, attempted homicides are up 47%. Violent robberies without a weapon up 66%. With weapon is up 39%. Theft without violence plus 12%. Vehicle related thefts plus 17%. And scams and frauds are up 9%. So there you go. You can really imagine what the city of Lyon will look like in about 4 to 5 years. All of the nice parts will slowly disappear and it will go down just the same way as Marseille went down.
This here, by the way, is the post office. Post office in Lyon. Looks to be quite an old building. Every single entrance of the actual post office is filled with a homeless person. So each archway, there's like 5 doorways, and in every doorway you have a person sleeping rough. And something that really hits hard for me as a European coming to visit these types of cities is the vast majority, and I mean it, the vast majority of the homeless is the local population. A lot of them are French.
Oh,
specialty from Morocco.
The first one was Lebanese, the
Lebanese,
second one was Morocco. It's
Moroccan.
falafel, so...
Oh, falafel. Wow. Fascinating. So every single stand at the market is Algerian, Moroccan, Lebanese, etc., etc. This one here is Tunisian. This right here is something that Naomi and I absolutely adore about Europe. History and everything about the thousands of years of history here in Europe. This is a garden called the Archaeology Garden, right next to an incredibly old and beautiful Catholic church. Down here is the remnants of a 5th century church in Europe. And nowadays it's being used as a public park where you can actually come and enjoy some food with your family and chill among the ruins of a 5th century church. Absolutely beautiful. This is an absolutely gorgeous little square, very European style square here. Probably way back, I'm talking over 1,000 years ago, or at least 500 plus years ago. This would have been the square of one of the villages around here along the Seine and the Rhine. Up here, beautiful, gorgeous, another Notre Dame church overlooking the city of Lyon. We're gonna go in and check out this one right here. Just look at the detail on the front of this church. How epic the history of Europe is, and this is one of the things that makes us so sad about the modern state of the continent of Europe. This, in terms of history, is up there alongside a lot of the Middle East. Now there's parts of the Middle East that go back, much further even than where we are right now. But there's thousands of years of history right here that we are currently walking on.
There's also different places in Europe, but you can start the Camino de Santiago actually from anywhere in Europe. But this is a very specific symbol that you can see that it's one of the official stops on the Camino de Santiago. So it's really cool to actually be part of this. I didn't know that Lyon was on one of the paths.
Ah, epic. That's cool. Let's go in and check this beautiful Catholic church out. So we just had a quick look around in the Lyon Cathedral, or the St. John the Baptist Cathedral. Now, believe it or not, the construction on this church started in the year 1180 and it lasted for over 300 years. So it took over 300 years, all the way up until the late 1400s, before the completed look of the cathedral happened. Incredible the amount of effort that went into this one building here in Lyon. And on the inside of here you have gorgeous depictions of many different things. One of those depictions is the decapitation of Saint John the Baptist and the crucifixion of Saint Peter. Now, believe it or not, Saint Peter himself was crucified upside down. So if you ever do see the inverted cross, which you will see in Hollywood and a lot of other depictions, people tend to think that an inverted cross means Satanism, and it's represented a lot of times in Satanistic cults and things like that. But in reality, it is the St. Peter cross, because he was in fact crucified upside down. So a little bit of trivia for you guys. But something that I want to touch on, this absolutely breaks both of our hearts. This cathedral that took more than 300 years to build, on the inside of this cathedral you still have vandalism. So the walls, a lot of the walls on the inside have been scribbled on with permanent marker, have been chiseled with rocks, and there's, from as close as 2019 up until 2026, there's people, tourists, and also probably locals here that are literally vandalizing the inside of the church, putting different symbols, and these are literally on the walls next to where you have baptism baths and everything else. So it is just horrific to be able to be in a church of such beauty, and again, that took 300 years of blood, sweat and tears to build, and that is how it's being treated nowadays in modern Europe. I really can't believe it. Gorgeous church, but a very sad, again, common theme here, sad reality of nowadays Europe.
Let's go. I don't know if you can read that. Lyon anti-Antifa.
Absolutely.
Why can we just not say Lyon normal people?
We made it onto one of the many charming bridges here on the River Seine. Believe it or not, the Seine runs into the Rhine as well. And have a look at this. This here is a perfect sort of representation of the old, beautiful Europe. Gorgeous, vibrant, colourful buildings off there in the distance. Now, unfortunately, the weather today is a little bit overcast, so the colours are not really popping, but I'm sure if you came here on a nice bright sunny day, this is quite literally like a postcard. Now, that's the sad reality, unfortunately, of postcards. Is the postcard is going to zoom in on these vibrant, colourful, beautiful buildings and show you guys this gorgeous shot with the bridges and all the history and everything else. Once you go down to the Google Street View though, things change fast, as we're showing you in this very video.
The biggest issue that we as Europeans have is that we all think these bad areas are just, you know, small parts of our city and it's not that bad, and we always think all of the other cities are fine. But we will have to open our eyes to the fact that now the bad parts are in each and every city. There's nearly no city left in Europe that doesn't have bad parts. And at some stage we will all have to open our eyes to the fact that we have to change something, because our cities are getting less and less safe. Our kids cannot walk around by themselves anymore. Women can't go out at night by themselves, and so on. It's just an issue that has to be addressed. We can't ignore it anymore.
Well, we really do hope that we've shown you a side of Lyon that you might not have been familiar with before seeing this video. If you had have just watched all of the other stuff that's available on YouTube, you would probably think, wow, that is a seriously beautiful place. And don't get us wrong, Lyon is very beautiful in particular areas, but it does have a dark side, and I hope that we have shone a light on that dark side for you all today. So, from here in the center of France, in the center of the third largest city of France, in Lyon, I'll remind you all once again that Christ is King.
And God bless you all. See you in the next one.
See you in the next one. Bye bye.